RMJ Movie Reviews back again with the crammed Halloween franchise marathon reviews with H20. I told you folks I'm going backwards all the way down to number one, and then Halloween 218 Friday. Halloween H20 from 1998. Wow, this was made on the 20th anniversary of the Halloween franchise, of which the original came out in 1978. This was 1998, like I just said. And Jamie Lee Curtis had realized that she was still working in Hollywood, and Halloween started her career. She tried to gather up Deborah Hill and John Carpenter, get the gang back together to make a 20th anniversary film of the original Halloween. I believe I'm not clear on the reasons why John Carpenter didn't come back and direct or even write. To my understanding, when I did a little bit more digging, I think it was because he wasn't paid enough. But in Deborah Hill, I'm not sure. Deborah Hill, I don't think was on this picture at all. I don't think. I don't even. Let me see. Yeah, I don't think she was on this. I don't think she was on this at all. It was just the Akkads working with the Weinsteins, who owned the, Dimension Miramax owned the franchise at the time. But anyway, pretty much the Halloween franchise was in the dumps after Curse and Michael Myers. And anyway, this was revived because apparently I think this was originally supposed to go straight to video until Jamie Lee hopped on. That's my understanding. I could be wrong. I don't work in the business. But either way, it revived the franchise. Steve Miner of Friday the 13th Part 2 and 3 director in-house. And My Father the Hero, he came in to direct. And this movie was a box office hit and revived the franchise. I remember at the time I remember them kind of mostly being positive. I remember I grew up in the city of Cleveland, so I remember the Sun Press, which was, I used to read all the reviews, and I think it had like 3.5 stars or something. I remember it getting a pretty good review in the Sun Press, and I remember the Cleveland Plain Dealer giving it a pretty good review too. Me and two of my very best friends at the time, we went to go see it at the theater. Those two hated it. I was the only one that liked it, but I was a Michael Myers fanatic, and Halloween had always been my favorite scary movie horror film of all time or whatever, and it still is to this day. Halloween 78 is. And I gave it a pass because it was nice to see Jamie Lee back. There was a hunger after Curse of Michael Myers was so disappointing. And I gave it a pass. Upon rewatching it over years, it's the one out the series that I rewatched the least. But upon rewatching it, I did a review of it, I think last year, 2 years ago, guys. But I was just reviewing it as part of the franchise, but as part of the franchise marathon movie reviews. But upon looking at it again, of course, everybody says the usual stuff that everybody says. It's too much like Scream. It's too much meta humor, and Michael Myers' mask changes throughout the picture. I find more problems in it. And it's not even just those problems that it's trying to be like the horror trends of the mid-late 90s. It was really just the fact that I don't think structurally, and I mean, I think structurally, atmospherically, and in terms of mood, I just don't think it's a very good horror picture. And I don't mean graphic, bloody violence, but I mean it does not at all resemble the original Halloween. That's its biggest fault. If you're bringing back Jamie Lee, who at this point, since Donald Pleasance was dead, she is the franchise. She's really the franchise. What's the word? Martria? I can't remember the word. You guys know what I'm talking about. Basically, she's representing the original franchise. It really surprises me. Actually, it doesn't, because it's the movie business. But there's nothing that resembles the original Halloween outside of Jamie Lee Curtis, and it's called Halloween and the character of Michael Myers. That's really about it, because it is not a film that builds any kind of atmosphere. That's the biggest issue. And I think one of the things that they missed in a lot of the later movies, particularly the Miramax movies, really missed it. I will say, I mean, there's diehard fans who feel how they feel about the Halloween 4 and 5, but what I will say is that Halloween 4 and 5 did right was they had mood. They had a certain mood to them, and there was a sense of dread and danger in Halloween 4 and 5, and darkness. H2O does not have that. It has no sense of atmosphere at all, no sense of dread. It just, upon rewatching this again and just sitting through it, I really, outside of Jamie Lee Curtis and a couple of okay suspense sequences, it's really just a boring movie. I was just really bored by it. And I will say, Jamie Lee Curtis gives a very good performance in this movie. And I think over the years, Jamie Lee Curtis, I think, has always been underrated as an actress. Um, you know, this is just me just going by hearsay, but some people are very negatively about, particularly when she was younger back in her younger days, that her appearance, saying that she's not the leading lady type or whatever. But I disagree. I think she very much is a very strong actress, and I think she does have an attractiveness to her. Just pretty much in the way she carries herself. But I think Jamie Lee Curtis is a very underrated actress, and her performance is very strong in this film. It's very good. I'm curious to see what the new one is going to be like. And she's been great almost in everything she's ever done. Blue Steel, particularly, I like. I'm trying to find Blue Steel, guys. I can't find it anywhere because I want to buy it. But Blue Steel, she's very good. Of course, she's great in True Lies. I mean, she's always been a wonderful actress, and it holds true here. She's great in this movie. All the actors in this movie are good. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the fact that it's not a good horror picture. It just does not have a sense of dread. Michael Myers in this is not built up to be the boogeyman. He really just feels like a goofy guy in a mechanic suit and a big knife. He's not threatening. You don't feel that sense of he could be anywhere, anytime, or that he does not feel like a force of nature. He just feels like a dude in a jumpsuit hopping out every here once in a while just to say like, hey, remember me? I am in this movie. That's kind of how Michael Myers is in this movie. It just, in the music in particular, I know John Ottman had made a comment about how a lot of the score, the way he scored the movie, it wasn't in there, but they took a lot of stuff from Marco Beltramo, I think that's how you say his name, who did a lot of Miramax movies. He did all the screams, and a lot of his score was, and they were doing that at that time, because I remember when I saw Mimic in 1997 when that came out, me and my buddy, I was watching Mimic, and I'm like, why does this sound like Scream? But there was a lot of music that they lifted from Scream, and they put it in H2O, and they put it in Mimic, and I'm not sure if they put it in any other Miramax pictures, but they did that at the time. And I kind of feel like the score for this movie, although I do like the orchestral version of the Halloween theme, I think it doesn't lend itself to building tension. It sounds really beautiful, and it sounds very well done. It's not creating mood or suspense, and the music really lends heavily to that sense of dread of the original Halloween, and really even a lot of Halloween 2, 1981. All that's missing here. Oh God, the cinematography. There's a gentleman whose channel on YouTube who I really love. I think his gentleman's name is Wes. He's a fantastic channel. He dissects Halloween 78 to a T and a lot of the Halloween franchise. But he mentions a lot about just the lighting. It's so damn bright. It's too bright. Now, I wouldn't have minded if it would have been bright for a very short portion of the picture, but there's a large section of this movie that is so brightly lit. And there's a really lot of open space. And I think what they should have did was, and Deborah Hill even mentions this, is how, Halloween 1 kind of starts out like things are wide, and as the picture goes along, it gets tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. And that's pretty much the chases. I think I give an example. There's a scene where Michael Myers is chasing Josh Hartnett and Michelle Williams. They're just running around in this big open field, and it's just like they should have staged a lot of the chases in claustrophobic areas, having them. And I understand too that could have been a production issue where they're just like, or at least done something to make it look like there's walls on it. Put some fake walls to make it look like there's no escape or something. But it just feels like they could just run any old where and get away from him, and by not making him that force of nature who could be under the bed or under the car or in the bushes or whatever, he just feels like a dude that you could just run away from in a mechanic suit, and he doesn't feel very threatening. they try to build that suspense in the first one by building tension, but since there's no atmosphere, there ain't no tension. You're just sitting around waiting for him to kill somebody, and then the kills don't even pay off because they're not that good. It just doesn't pay off. And Steve Miner, who does very good with on-screen action, like he did very good with the chases in Friday the 13th 2 and the ones and 3, and he did good with a lot of the action and confrontations, action scenes in House. I don't really know what happened here. I just don't know what happened here. A lot of the suspense scenes in this movie just feel clunky. They feel clunky and uninspired. They just don't. They feel like they're just really going through the bare minimum of motions. There's the best sequence, I will say, is the movie picks up once Jamie Lee and Michael Myers are going one-on-one, but it's not long enough and it's not enough for you to really keep you invested. By that time, the movie is over. It's only an hour and 20 minutes. Might be an hour and 15 without the credits, because I think the credits are, or it may be shorter, But the best action scene between Michael and Jamie Lee Curtis is obviously the one, I think, in the school hall where he's flipping the tables over. I really like that scene, and I do like the scene where she's throwing the knives at him. That's pretty cool. But again, too short and too little, too late. It's not enough. Those are the best suspense sequences in the movie. The rest of them just feel really uninspired. I don't particularly think the gentleman they chose to play Myers in this movie, I just didn't really like the physicality. I didn't really like the way that, I'm being nitpicky, but I didn't like the way the jumpsuit looked. I think Myers is too brightly lit. He's really supposed to be in the shadows, and he's just too up front. Halloween 281 suffered from that problem, but they still had Dean Cundy's cinematography to kind of enhance some of those negative aspects of that first movie. But here, he's just too out in the open. It's too much. The mask switching back and forth kind of really messes it up. That's just the biggest problem, I think, is that it does not have a sense of dread or doom or any kind of atmosphere, or even an atmosphere of Halloween like the original or the second film did. And that's just really its biggest shortcoming. That's the thing. And Michael Myers is not a force of nature in this movie. He doesn't feel threatening. He doesn't feel like a force of nature. Though, in the lighting, those are the things that kill this picture. They just kill it. And it's just, and Jamie Lee Curtis, great performance. She's admitted recently that this was a cash job, but I still think even on Jamie Lee Curtis's worst day, she's still a wonderful actress. But it unfortunately was not enough to save the movie. And then you got to throw in the comedic bits of the day. LL popping up in there, and I think the only reason LL did this movie was because I know he did In Too Deep, was another movie by Dimension. He might have had he might have been under contract with Dimension Films or something, because I think he did another Dimension film too around that time. But he did In Too Deep and he did this, and I think there was another one he did. I could be wrong. But LL is just there to get us in the theater. So, he does what he's supposed to do. But the thing with his girlfriend and Ronnie, don't you mean? It's just like, oh my God, why is this in here? Why? But let me tell you, this movie is 1,000 times better than Halloween Resurrection. I mean, it's funny. That's why I kind of wanted to watch them backwards, because I kind of was just like, if I watch them backwards, the series won't feel bad. If I go from the worst and all the way up to the best, so that was kind of why I did it backwards. But that's ultimately what just destroyed Halloween H2O. I just don't think there was enough craft, enough attention and care put into building an atmosphere and really trying to at least extend some of Halloween 1, 78. So, but the acting's fine as far as, him just popping up out the blue. There's inconsistencies in the stories too. They kind of allude that the other sequels didn't exist, but then they kind of hint that Halloween 2 did exist. And But I do like the little callbacks at the beginning of the movie where you got the nurse from Halloween 1 and 2 with the Red Rabbit cigarettes. I thought that was a nice little thing. There's a nod to Donald Pleasance in there. I thought that was pretty good, pretty classy. Although I wish it could have been his voiceover, but who knows? Maybe they couldn't get the rights or whatever. I don't know. But I thought that opening was pretty good, but then the movie kind of really quickly falls apart, and it doesn't really come back together until they have the final confrontation. But by then, it's too little, too late, and not enough. So that's my review of Halloween H2O. I'm coming right back with Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video. Don't forget to hit the little bell. Leave comments down below about Halloween H2O. Hey, y'all, Halloween 2/18, Friday, baby.